Welcome back. Today we've got a version 2 of our original Catapult. We've made the trigger much easier to press, added a roller, and we've added bearings to try to get it to throw a little bit more accurately. So we'll go through design, build plate setup, and then how to assemble it. Here's the assembly of our version 2 of our original Catapult. The original was called Punkin' Chunkin' Catapult, and it was pretty good, but it had a few areas that needed to be improved. So the first one was the button was really hard to press. So firing the thing was actually pretty hard. We've added a roller to the trigger, and we've gone with a 2-piece design. So this trigger comes apart into 2 pieces, and there's half of the pin for the roller to pivot on each side. So if we hide this, we can look in here. The trigger's pivoted over here, so under its own weight, it wants to rotate this way. So it'll rotate in to here and touch the arm while the thing is at rest. And when we cock it and we rotate this back, we're going to get past this edge. And when we do, then this is going to fall in. And no matter how far back we go, when we bring it back forward, we're going to make contact this face to the roller, and that's what's going to hold it back. We can't bend the springs in here, so that's just going to stay there, but it's in the spot before it's cocked. When we push down on the finger pad and we rotate this forward, we get the roller out clear of this point, and that's when the springs are free to propel this forward till it gets to about here. That's where the ball separates and flies through the air, and then we're going to bend the spring in the other direction and kind of boing back and forth. The other thing we really wanted to fix was this had inconsistent range on the first version. So we've added print in place bearings to both the pivot and this pivot for the springs. The back of the springs is still just a pin in a hole, and the trigger still rotates with a pin in a hole. But these seem like the most impactful places to add bearings, so that's what we did. And that seems to have improved things quite a bit. And we made this one throw a ping pong ball, so it has these tracks in here that trap it really well so that it can't fall out the sides, and it's always in the same place. So this should throw fairly accurately and hopefully hit the same spot over and over again as we would expect. So that's kind of it for the design. We did use these friction interference posts in both the trigger and to hold the 2 halves together, just like we did last time. So let's take a look at the build plate setup. Here's the build plate setup. We printed ours on our new Creality K2 printer with a textured PEI build plate. We've got 3 different pins. So 2 of them are the same width across the flats, and 2 of them are the same length. But this one's actually smaller than the other 2. This is the trigger pivot. The short, thick one is the pivot for the arm, and the long, thick one goes in this hole for the springs to attach to. We want to lay all the pins on one of their sides flat, and that way we'll get strong lines through here and we won't break any pins. We've got the roller for the trigger. We just want the hole facing up. These are the end caps that hold the springs on, and we want them socket side up. The spacer that holds the springs apart, we want on one of its faces and just face the hole up. The arm, either side is fine. They'll print the same. We can print these print in place roller bearings, and the tracks for the ball are 45 degrees, so they'll print as overhangs. We want the sides both with the pin facing up and the sockets facing up. And then if we jump to our other plate, we've got both halves of the trigger, and both of them want to be pin vertical and the socket facing up. And then last thing, we've got 2 different springs. They look really similar, but they're mirror images of one another. And we just need to make sure that the side with the protrusions faces up on both springs. So that should do it. We printed on 0.12 layer height out of PLA and like 15% infill, and I think 3 walls. So let's take a look at how to put it together. Here are all the parts we should have printed. We've got 2 different springs and 3 different pins. 2 of them are the same length, but one is bigger across the flats than the other, and the other one is a long pin that's the same cross section as the thicker one. First thing we need to do is put the trigger together. So we got this little roller, the trigger. We'll put this on the pin, and then we're going to line up this protrusion with this slot. Make sure the pin goes into the roller, and then just give this a squeeze. And now the roller should spin nice and freely. It's going to be a little bit sloppy back and forth, but we just gave it a lot of room. Next thing, the short pin with the bigger cross section is the pivot pin for the arm. And the little skinny pin is the trigger pin. So we'll put that here and drop the trigger over it. The tab faces away from this, like so. And then we want to look at our springs. They've got a part that sticks up on both ends, and they're mirror images of one another. So we want the one that looks like this with the protrusions facing up, and that goes on first. Then this roller And we're going to take the other side. So we want to load this onto this pin, and we want the raised portion facing up. These bearings should spin free. So you should be able to hold on to the middle and make sure that it rolls. And we printed on a textured build plate and had to break these apart. They printed a little bit stuck together, and with a little bit of working them back and forth, now they spin well. So we'll drop the front bearing over the axle. This one's where the springs are going to connect. And then we've got to hold this guy, and we have to line up all of these and this pin with this roller. So we get them all lined up, and then give it a squeeze. And now we can take one of these end caps and install it on this pin. So just line them up and push them together. They're a little bit of a snug fit, but they stay on. So now we're going to thread this through one side of the spring, and then make sure the trigger's not in the way so you can move the arm. And just rotate this up and put it right through the bearing here in the side. Then we'll get the other spring, push the pin right through it. And then the last cap, we're just going to squeeze this on. There we go. So the trigger is going to rotate under its own weight back to cock it. So just make sure that it's not tucked under. We're going to cock this back. The trigger will drop in. And there we go.